we go. So now we're in on it. We got actually 2 days of football here, Kelsey, on Saturday and Sunday. We do have 6 games. We're anticipating some expert knowledge here picking games, and we'll start right off with a guy who looks a lot like, I don't have as many kids as the guy, and quite frankly, I think he might be older than me, but Phillip Rivers taking the field versus the young buck Josh Allen, a line of around 6.5. What are we looking in this game here?
Oh, I like the Bills here. I wish I was a Bills fan. They are having a heck of a year, and it would be so cool if COVID wasn't a thing for these fans to be at that game. And the Colts defense, I don't trust the defense here. They've been going downhill since, I guess, week 11. But so Buffalo -6, that's what I have them at, and Bills keep it rolling.
It's going to be interesting. I would love to see Buffalo because I think we are all excited here. Possibility, depending on what fan base you are, but if you're an outside objective observer like me, who is an Eagles fan, if Buffalo and Kansas City meet up, and that's for the right to go to the Super Bowl, Kyle, that's something that we can all win by seeing.
Yeah, and hey, there's going to be like 6,700 fans at this game, something like that. They're allowing. That's going
Big
to
high
be
school
the
game. Yeah,
it's going to be the loudest 6,700 people you've ever heard because these fans are going to be hammered. I mean, just absolutely out the door, kicking your balls off drunk in that stadium. They're going to be loud. This is going to be I'm going to have a lot of fun watching the limited fans in Buffalo, and I think we're with you. We agree. Although I do think the Colts have a chance, but you're right. The pick's Buffalo.
Yep, pick is Buffalo here as we take a look at it. And sometimes in Buffalo, they break tables. Some people break beds, but that's another story. 143-144. The Rams and the Seahawks here. Are we going to get the young guy, as Kyle says, Wallaford, or are we going to get Jared Goff in this game? But is it just simple as this, Kelsey? Look at Russ. He's out there. Spread's like 3. We're taking him, right? Or no?
I'm not. I am not.
Whoa.
Let me down this season. I'm sorry. I know my picks last week were bad, so maybe these ones are just awful. But I really stand by these ones. Aaron Donald knows how to, what's the word? I guess spin things up. I don't know. Pressure.
I like it. Spin it up. I like it. Go ahead.
Spin it up on Russell. And I like the Rams. I like the young guy personally. I mean, they bumped the Cardinals out of the playoffs, so let's go Rams.
Now, see, here's where Kyle steps in and says, wait a second, you like them personally, so we'll try to avoid that comment there, Kyle. Do you agree with this pick here?
I do, but again, this one probably would make me the most nervous of them all because that Rams defense does know how to defend Russell Wilson. So if you get anywhere near a competent performance out of Jared Goff, the Rams have a legitimate shot. But again, we're not overthinking it. Short line, Wilson versus Wallaford, or a banged up Goff. You got to take pretty boy Russell Wilson. One of the least likable guys, in my opinion, Russell Wilson. I cannot stand Russell Wilson and his holy water and all that nonsense. Oh, he makes me sick. I do not like the Seahawks, but they probably get it done here and win.
The good part about, you have the different dialects through different parts of the country. I always appreciate that Jared Goff is how we say golf, not golf, up here on the Northeast. So I do like to play golf, and we'll see if Jared Goff does get into this game. But I'm keeping it with Kyle here. I don't want to watch this game, Kelsey, and be like, you know what? I bet on Wallaford in this football game as opposed to Russell Wilson here. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on.
Winning, but I think they're going to keep it close, okay?
So you got 1 point? You got 1 point out there? I like it. That's pretty good.
I like it. It could happen. This could happen. This could come down to a 1 or 2 point game. Russell Wilson loves doing that. Down by 2, drives down the field. If he's got the ball with a minute and a half left, he comes down, kicks field goal. Seahawks win. Rams cover. Kelsey looks like a genius, and we look like the old dummies that we are.
That's right, but we can edit the show any way we choose here, so we always have that final thing here. 145, 146, the night game. Tom Brady, which Kyle likes Washington, thinks they're going to hang around, but, it's hard. I don't have any pathway to victory, like literally almost at all, for the Washington football team in this. Are we taking this team to roll, or are you in the belief like Kyle, like, hey, Washington can hang around in this one. We'll see what happens.
I like Washington's defense. Obviously, I don't trust Alex Smith. I think his story's amazing, but he's probably done after this year. So Washington hangs around. Obviously, the Bucks win, but I have them at 8.5. Washington, I think that is just too much for Tom Brady.
Love that.
And a
Now
playoff.
she's getting it. That's a great pick, right? That's a great pick right there.
Kyle and I agree sometimes, and it goes downhill. So
she's very abusive too. So abusive. I mean, it's very scary. Ask San Gonzalez. So I try to do my best to agree with her. So I'm glad that worked out this time.
By the way, I like whoever made that up last week on Twitter. Like the fact that Alex Smith was called where his injury is Civil War leg might have been my favorite thing that I've seen this entire year. But give him all the respect in the world, because this is like a guy trying to like dodge cars in the middle of the street, but is in like a wheelchair. Like he can't get out of the way, but still he wants to go out and help his team. A lot of respect on that end of it. And I don't even know, to be honest, if he makes the start. Is this one of those things that Ron Rivera says, like, hey, he's earned the right to start, but there's going to be a real quick hook out here? Because Heineke's taken a lot of these, practice reps. And watching the game last week against my dead-ass Philadelphia Eagles, they looked really poor with him in there. Now, the week before, they still lost, but Heineke was able to at least run around in the pocket, make some plays. Could he be that boost here, Kelsey, that we take a look at, saying like, hey, Walford came in last week, struggled to start, but his legs got him a couple first downs. And sometimes in the NFL, that first down is sometimes even more important than points, because you're moving the football, taking time off the clock, and trying to cover that 8-point spread.
Yeah, obviously the Bucs smacked my freaking Falcons last week. Falcons were hanging on, and then they blew it again. So I'm like, oh yeah, Bucs are going to kill Washington. But this is the playoffs now, and I think both teams are going to be trying really hard, especially with the Alex Smith story. Even if he's not in there, it's like they want to do that for him.
I agree. I agree with the
I
Washington pick. I think the defense gives Brady too much trouble, and I think it's a close, low-scoring game. I like Washington to cover in this one.
All right, Sunday NFL action here gets going again. All these games right in a row, 1 o'clocks, 4:40s, and 8:15s. We got the Baltimore Ravens and the Tennessee Titans. To me, I was surprised that the line opened up a 3.5-point favorite for Baltimore. They do have the better defense, but they haven't shown the ability to win in the playoffs with Lamar Jackson. Does he get over the hump in this game, Kelsey, or are the Tennessee Titans at home too much and Lamar struggles and they get the loss again this year?
First, I had the Titans going, but I think the Ravens are going to get revenge this time. They've lost to the Titans the past 2 times, and last year in the playoffs. So Ravens are coming in. Lamar Jackson looks hot, so I think he keeps it rolling here. And -3 isn't that bad, 3.5.
And you know what the interesting part about this is, Kyle? When you take a look at the Baltimore offense, it really coincided to me with obviously Lamar Jackson, had COVID issues, came back. But the emergence of saying we're running this offense through J.K. Dobbins now. Yeah. It's not going to be run through Mark Ingram, who's a great running back and, pick up the 3 to 4 yards when you need it, be an absolute hammer on the goal line. But this offense now moves because this kid is explosive out of the running back position. And now you have, and I saw that, which really caught me off guard, when you saw some of the highlights where the question comes in is statistically, you have a top 10 quarterback and a top 5 running back as your quarterback. That's got to mean something in this game.
Yeah, I do think it means something, but the problem for me, until Lamar Jackson proves he can throw this team to victory, I'm not taking him. And hey, he might look hot, and sometimes people say I look hot too. They're usually lying to me, which I pay them to do. I want them to lie to me, but nonetheless, I got to take until Lamar Jackson proves me wrong. I got the Titans. I think they outscore Baltimore here in a very high scoring game. But again, first team to score, I think they win the game. That's my thought on this one.
Yep. And by the way, Kyle does sit on a booster seat while we do this show, so he appears a little bit taller than he actually is. So keep that in mind. 149, 150, Chicago and New Orleans. Mitchell Trubisky going on the road. We rip him all year long, but it's not about in this game him winning. It's can he just be competent where they can stay within 10 points enough to get this cover. Tough task to ask because you saw a team last week where Chicago theoretically before the game needed to win against a big division rival who was a better football team. They didn't even show up in that game, it felt like. Do you think Mitch can go down to the Dome and play it close? Or is this Drew Brees saying, come on, man, you kidding me with this out here?
I don't like that +10. I hate these 10-point spreads. I haven't been going with them at all this season. I'm going with the Bears covering. Trubisky is going to have to use his arm in this one, but I think in the end they're not going to win, but I think they're going to cover that 10-point spread.
Kyle, Grandma Bear at the end of the year, does she sit up in the box and say, it's time for Mitchie to go? Or is it just like, he looks so much, you're going to like my great-grandkid, I can't let him go, we're going to sign him back. What happens after this game? Like, let's just say Mitch actually plays well. And I'm not talking about 400 yards. 275, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. They lose by 10. Are they throwing a parade for Trubisky and saying, here's your $150 million contract?
Probably. They probably are. I mean, it's a dumbass franchise, so they'll probably do it. And another thing to keep an eye on in this game, especially if the Bears are going to cover, Mitch Trubisky does have some upside with his legs. And I do think if you look at some 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, if he can muster a couple of first down with his legs on 3rd down, I think that gives the Bears a great chance of keeping this game close. We'll call him Handsome Mitch, my pretty boy Mitch. They should cover, but I mean, the Saints are going to win this game. And it's another one where I'm staying the hell away from it, just like Kelsey. 10-point spreads in the playoffs. No, thank you.
Yep, and if you watch the movie Titanic, Virginia McCaskey was the lady with the Hope Diamond there, so that's how old she actually is. 151, 152, Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Mayfield goes on the road. Yeah, they beat Pittsburgh last week, where Pittsburgh rested a lot of players. Looked like they came out like gangbusters early, only to let the lead slip away almost too late, where it was a tie game, which I actually would have preferred, betting purposes, that the game was tied up, so maybe Cleveland could have had an extra half of a point in that game, but neither here nor there. Can they get it done this week? No coach, no practice, guys on COVID, rested and ready Steelers team. Steelers always beat the brakes off of them, specifically in Pittsburgh. Can Cleveland hold it down, Kelsey? Just to say, Big Ben's moving on here. Touchdown win by the Steelers.
It just seems like a mess over there with Cleveland. I was rooting for them at first, but now it's just like COVID, schmovid, Cleveland's out. I'm sorry. I like Steelers taking this one by a touchdown. I don't want to say easily because you never know what Pittsburgh's going to bring in, but I think it should be easier for them this time.
Yeah, it sets up well. I mean, you talk about revenge from a loss last week, and one team's healthy, the other team is not. So, I mean, it sets up well, but then we look at it. It's a 5.5-point line, 6-point line. It does seem cheap in that respect. But you got to go with the home team in this one, right? If you bet the Cleveland squad right here, Kyle, let's just say today, it's Thursday, we're anticipating nobody else gets COVID. It's still a hard draw to take Cleveland just because the fact is they're worrying about so much off the field as opposed to just worrying about what they have to do on the field.
Exactly. And then you've got Baker Mayfield, who you can't trust against any pass rush. They're total frauds anyways. Now their head coach isn't there. Cleveland, the more I think about it, they're going to get smacked. And yes, I sometimes use phone books and no, my feet don't touch the floor. It just depends what's handy. I used a beer box one time, but then I got too fat and I broke a bottle while I'm sitting. You don't want to do that. There's all sorts of injuries that happen there that you just don't recover from quickly. So, if you're like me, be careful. Just use those soft phone books or use a pillow or something.
Yep, Kyle sits at the dinner table and he can still swing his feet just like his kids across the table from him. So we always like to have a lot of fun on this show, but this is playoff week here.